The Outsiders of 2008, a story of crisis, clarity, and courage. There was a time, not long ago, when the American housing market was gripped by unprecedented euphoria. The belief was almost sacred. Home prices could only rise, promising prosperity. For all enticed by record low interest rates, millions of families bought homes they couldn't afford. Banks eagerly issued mortgages with little oversight, and these risky loans were bundled into complex financial instruments sold on Wall Street as safe investments. A false sense of security spread, veiling all doubt beneath the golden glow of optimism. No one wanted to spoil the party with bad news. But in quiet offices, far from the exuberant heart of finance, a few unconventional minds outsiders saw a different picture. They didn't see endless growth. They saw the roots of collapse beneath the celebration. Armed with raw data and sharpened skepticism, they dove deep into the mechanics of the system. What they found was disturbing. Subprime mortgages extended. Too high-risk borrowers, wrapped in toxic derivatives disguised as safe assets. What others saw as booming prosperity, they saw as a debt-fueled illusioner fragile house of cards, teetering on shifting ground. These individuals defied the prevailing narrative, betting against a tidal wave of optimism. Their warnings were met with dismissal and mockery by Wall Street elites and regulatory bodies alike. The idea that the American housing marketer, supposed pillar of national stability, could crumble was deemed ludicrous. Their calls were ignored, their analysis ridiculed. They were isolated, swimming against a tide of denial and hubris. Each day, the tension grew. The data revealed cracks widening beneath the surface, but the world kept dancing. To the outsiders, every chart wasn't just numbers, it was a countdown. They raced against time, trying to awaken the system before the inevitable collapse. The global panic and human toll of unrestrained greed were brewing behind the curtain long before they reached headlines. This is the story we now unfold, not just of the 2008 crash, but of the few who dared to question the untouchable. Their journey is a visceral exploration of financial fragility and the power of critical thinking. Beyond the charts, they remind us that vigilance and skepticism are vital compasses. When greed outpaces caution, and reason is drowned by complacency, the consequences are seismic. Their insight didn't come from mysticism, but from discipline, the determination to peel back financial complexity and reveal its vulnerabilities. While most investors trusted credit ratings issued by seemingly infallible agencies, the outsiders went further. They analyzed raw data, individual mortgage contracts, regional delinquency rates, and the structures of securitized assets. They didn't stop at surface gloss. They dissected the innards with surgical precision. What appeared diversified was, in truth, a tangled web of high-risk loans masked as stability. Why was this level of scrutiny so rare? Largely because of dangerous incentives and deep-rooted cognitive biases. Banks, rewarded for volume, issued loans regardless of borrower quality. Rating agencies, paid by the institutions whose products they rated, inflated scores to maintain business. And the herd mentality made it safer to conform than to question. No one wanted to be the one pointing out that the emperor had no clothes, not when reputations and careers were on the line. Financial complexity added to the illusion. Products like collateralized debt obligations, CDOs, bundled thousands of loans into tranches with different risk levels. The theory was that mixing high and low-risk assets would dilute danger. In reality, when the housing market faltered, the correlations between loans tightened. What seemed diversified was deeply interconnected, and once one piece fell, the rest collapsed. The outsiders identified this hidden linkage as the system's Achilles heel. Despite the clarity of their findings, their journey was filled with frustration and alienation. Imagine seeing a storm forming on the horizon while everyone else enjoys a sunny day, blind to the danger. Their warnings were met with disbelief, even hostility. Labeled as pessimists or doomsayers, they faced immense psychological pressure, assisting not just flawed data, but an entire system unwilling to see its reflection in the mirror. Their story is more than a chronicle of financial disaster. It's a powerful reminder of the value of independent thought and intellectual courage. In an increasingly complex and interconnected world, the ability to pierce through dominant narratives is an invaluable skill. How often do we accept truth simply because it's widely repeated or endorsed by authority? The outsiders of 2008 teach us that genuine prosperity isn't built on shaky assumptions or blind optimism. It requires constant scrutiny, uncomfortable questions, and the willingness to swim upstream when evidence demands it. The complexity of modern finance became its own camouflage. Even brilliant minds struggled to untangle products engineered to confuse. The deeper the outsiders dug, the more apparent it became. Risk wasn't eliminated, it was merely repackaged and resold. With each layer unwrapped, they exposed structural flaws masked by technical jargon and glossy marketing. That their insights were not enough to avert the crash. The system was too invested in its illusion. Incentives pushed risk-taking. Rating agencies failed in their duty. Regulators were either blind or complicit. The herd kept moving forward, Evan, as it approached a cliff. This collective blindness wasn't due to lack of information, but to a web of structural, psychological, and economic forces. Financial decisions were shaped not just by data, but by pressure, greed, and fear. The intricate products meant to optimize portfolios ended up concealing dangers. Instead of improving transparency, complexity created confusion and false comfort. It's a lesson in systemic fragility how design, if misguided, can lead to collapse. The domino effect that followed wasn't just a market correction, it was a seismic event that rippled through households, careers, and entire economies. Each reckless loan, each ignored warning, added momentum to a catastrophe that now lives in history. This wasn't an abstract economic adjustment. It was a human crisis, rooted in denial and driven by unrestrained ambition. Reflecting on this saga, we're urged to look beyond the surface. Financial resilience, whether personal or systemic, isn't built on hope or consensus. It's built on facing facts, even when they're inconvenient. The deeper lesson lies not in predicting the next crash, but in understanding the hidden dynamics that make crashes possible. We must learn to see with clarity, challenge easy narratives, and remain vigilant when everyone else is at ease. The outsiders weren't mystics, they were thinkers. Their independence of thought was their greatest asset. They weren't chasing profit alone, they were uncovering truth. In doing so, they paid the price of solitude, ridicule, and resistance. But they gave us a map, one that still guides us through the complexities of today's economy. Their legacy is a call to develop not just financial literacy, but financial insight, to know when something is too good to be true, and to have the courage to say it aloud. The cost of ignorance is steep, but the reward of wisdom is lasting security, built not on illusion, but on understanding. In a world where information is plentiful, but discernment is rare, let this story be your compass. Learn to question, to dig deeper, and to resist the comfort of the crowd. The true foundation of financial stability isn't built with borrowed money or promised returns, but with knowledge, resilience, and the courage to see clearly, even when no one else will.